Hey everybody, Professor Q here. I am trying to prepare for tomorrow night's show and feeling a little uneasy. If you joined us last week, you heard a little bit of my story. This week I am, I guess, coming clean, if you will, telling the full story of my heart attack. And there are certainly a lot of people that know that I had a heart attack back in May. And very few people know the full story. Only a handful of people know that story. Doug obviously knows the story. So, yeah, I'm preparing to share that with you tonight, or tomorrow night rather. So you definitely want to check in for that if you kind of want to hear my story of how I died and was sent back. That'll be tomorrow night at 8 o'clock or sometime shortly after that. But as I'm reflecting on telling that story and kind of putting together my thoughts and kind of how I want to start, and also what we want to do with the rest of the show, talk about Doug's book, Are We Doing Church Wrong? I was reading the book and came across something that I thought was applicable to my heart attack story. And we touched on it a little bit yesterday, or last week, rather, that since my heart attack, I've had some serious identity issues for two reasons. One, I've experienced some cognitive damage or issues as a result of the heart attack, which we will be looking at with the doctors over the next few months. But there's a significant difference in how my brain works, and which has caused some serious identity issues for me, because that's how I operate in the world. How my brain has always worked and how I do things, how I function, how I accomplish things, how I approach my day, all that has changed because of these cognitive issues. So there's definitely a struggle with identity from that, but also from the experience of the heart attack, which you'll learn about. It's really been the hardest part of this for me, not the physical part, but this spiritual, emotional part for me, and really struggling with, I was going to cry on this, struggling with who I am, and who God sees me and who God intended me to be, and that in relationship to why he sent me back has been a real struggle. And in last week I had said I see the light at the end of the tunnel, if you will, and see the other side of this, and things are emerging for me that they didn't a month ago. Definitely know that I'm not there yet, and going back through this and preparing for this show has brought some of that back. So there's definitely a lot to process, but I found in preparing for Doug's book, I found this quote. He talks about this in one of the chapters of the book. He talks about identity, and this really stuck out to me. He said, "We must first understand and begin to operate in our own true identities." It helps if I spell true right. All this time, I did no spelling errors. We must first understand and begin to operate in our own true identity before we can be empowered to fully walk in our God-given purpose. And I read this book when it first came out and was really in the midst of struggling with identity, and especially in relationship to my identity and relationship with God. And maybe I was just too into it to have this quote stick out then, but it really hit me today when going through my notes. I did underline and highlight it, so it was in my notes. So it resonated then, but today definitely more so, because I do feel that, and I felt the whole time that God has been working in me and preparing me for what's next. And he knows that I'm struggling with identity and so forth, and I feel like, yeah, he's just been preparing me for understanding what that God-given purpose is, and helping me come to terms with my identity. And I'm not there yet. Again, I see it coming. I see it emerging. but it's kind of ironic that I saw this quote right now where I'm at in time right now in dealing with this. And I want to bring this up to Doug tonight or tomorrow rather, after we share my story, and kind of get his input and his thought behind this quote, and maybe dive a little bit deeper into that identity component in his book. We were going to jump into the first of the foundational identities of the church, the family, which I'm assuming we will still do, but I definitely want to touch on this first and maybe some other things that are earlier in the book before he gets to those foundational identities. So please pray for me that I can get through this. I may do it live. I may record it beforehand. I'm not really sure how I'm going to go about this yet, but again, I've only shared this with a few people, and having the whole world hear the story is something that something that I wanted to do with this show and tell my full story. But I'm definitely feeling a little nervous and scared in how people react and respond to it. So wish me luck, and I hope you all tune in tomorrow night, 8 o'clock, Wednesday, 8 o'clock on Facebook and YouTube.